Today, we continue with Genesis chapters 45 through 48. I will read key passages, and I encourage you to read the full chapters on your own. The full reading reference is provided for you below. The testing is complete. Now comes revelation. In Genesis 45, 1-2, Joseph can no longer control himself. He clears the room and begins to weep. This moment is no longer about position, it is about truth. Genesis 45:3, Joseph says, I am Joseph. Is my father still living? The brothers are stunned. The one they betrayed, the one they assumed was gone, is standing before them. God is the God of reversals. In Genesis 45, 4-5, Joseph says, do not be distressed. It is to save lives that God sent me ahead of you. Joseph sees beyond what they did. He sees what God was doing. In Genesis 45, 7-8, God sent me ahead of you. It was not you who sent me here, but God. This is perspective shaped by time, process, and walking with God. Pain has not made him bitter. It has made him clear. In Genesis 45, 9-11, Joseph tells them to go get Jacob. Provision has already been prepared. 45, 14-15, they weep together. Reconciliation happens. What was broken is now being restored. In Genesis 45 and 24, Joseph tells them, don't quarrel on the way. He knows their history. Old patterns must not return. In Genesis 45 and 26, Jacob hears Joseph is alive. At first, he does not believe it. Grief had settled in for too long. But Genesis 45 and 28, he responds, I will go and see him before I die. Hope is revived. Genesis 46, 2-4, God speaks to Jacob in a vision. Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt. I will make you into a great nation there. God confirms the direction, even in transition. God is still leading. Genesis 46, 6-7, Jacob takes his family and everything he has. Genesis 46 and 27, they number 70 people, small in number, but carrying a promise that will grow. Genesis 45, 29-30, Joseph meets Jacob. They embrace and weep. Years of loss meet restoration in one moment. 47, 1-6, Joseph presents his family to Pharaoh. They settle in Goshen. Provision is secure. Genesis 47, 13-26, the famine becomes severe. Joseph manages the crisis carefully. Resources shift. Ownership changes, but lives are preserved. God's provision is still working, even in difficulty. In Genesis 47 and 27, Israelites settled, and they are fruitful and increased greatly. Even in a foreign land, God's promise continues. Growth does not stop because location changes. In Genesis 47, 29-31, Jacob prepares for his death. He makes Joseph promise to bury him in Canaan. The promise of the land still matters. Then in Genesis 48, Jacob blesses Joseph's sons. In Genesis 48 and 5, he adopts them. They are now counted among the tribes. 48, 13-14, Jacob crosses his hands, placing the right hand on Ephraim, the younger. In Genesis 48, 17-19, Joseph tries to correct him, but Jacob insists. God's way are not based on human order. In Genesis 48 and 20, the blessing is established. 48 and 21, Jacob says, I am about to die, but God will be with you, even at the end. His confidence is not in circumstances, but in God and God alone. Now, what do these chapters show and tell us? God brings truth into the open. 45 and verse 3. God can use what was meant for harm or evil for good. Genesis 45:5. And reconciliation is possible. 45:15. God guides in transitions. 46:2-4. God's promise continues anywhere. 47:27. God's ways are not limited by human expectation. Genesis 48:14. And faith looks beyond one timeline. Genesis 48:21. Now, let's connect all of this across Scripture. Joseph's perspective in Genesis 45:5 connects to Romans 8:28. Reconciliation here reflects the heart seen in 2 Corinthians 5:18. God guiding Jacob connects to Isaiah chapter 30:21. God choosing the unexpected connects to 1 Corinthians 1:27. And the continuation of promise reflects the faith described in Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 13. Now, I encourage you to continue forward. Yes, read chapters 45-48 in full. Watch how God brings clarity, healing, and restoration. Notice how what once seemed broken is now part of something bigger. God is faithful, y'all. From beginning to end. The story continues tomorrow.